Good evening, welcome back to the Chama. I'm Kamal, there's Valentine, and there's the lovely Esther here with us. We swapped chairs.
So very quickly, once you become a lawmaker, what are you going to do? What do you want to do?
First of all, look at some of the legislations that we have. Some of them are very outdated, and make sure that we bring them up to speed. Look at the anti-corruption. I mean, for me, most of the candidates right now are promising a stronger anti-corruption. They've been in Parliament 5 years ago. They haven't done anything. We need to understand why. So I'm going to be looking at the legislation, looking at how we can work certain rules and laws in relation to our Constitution. For me, the one thing that I want to focus on is what do we have to do now to make sure 2018 we do have 1/3 representation.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I thought you'd say something along the lines, like your fight for child support and everything is very public. I thought you'd say something along those lines, like helping women, like putting something in law that makes it easier for women to collect child support or fight for that kind of thing.
The judiciary. The judiciary obviously is a problem, but as I said, look at the legislations that are there. Some of the bills that are going to come back to Parliament, which were not concluded, was the Marriage Act.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So when they come in, it's to get acquainted and to see. Of course, I know what affects the ground.
Yeah.
Already, I know what affects the ground. So the question is, how do these laws now? People need to get educated on the laws. People don't even know their rights. Let's just start there. People don't know their rights. So you have to be able to work to make the law is one thing, to implement it another, and to educate the people.
That's
also,
true. That's
and then
true.
to make sure that this law actually works. And I think that's where I'd like to focus.
With sorry, Chama, but with child support, what always strikes me is when, say, the law says, okay, you go to court and the judge says, yes, you owe this woman 30,000 shillings a month for her kids. There is no system in place to make sure that money is taken out of the man's paycheck.
No, it's tedious.
But we act like, when you hear that, it sounds like a women's issue. But that same issue affects business because it's debt collection.
Yes.
And any business person you speak to will tell you one of the main issues of doing business in Kenya is debt collection. You do business, you provide a service, or you provide products or whatever, people don't pay you.
Nobody respects the law, let's face it. And it goes even in the judiciary itself. I mean, I had court orders that gave me certain rights. And when I went back to the same court to ask for contempt, I was denied. So you ask yourself, but you gave these court orders to me, now you're denying me contempt. So we do have a situation of impunity. We do have a situation with corruption. Those are the bills that I'd really like to look at, but implementation. There's no need passing laws and then there's no implementation. So the process of implementation and educating the people is somewhere where I'd like to really be involved.
Okay, but this has happened to you on a personal level, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that is why you're able to talk about it. I mean, I can tell you from experience, I'm going through the same thing. The court said this, you get this, but I'm just sitting there. But whose door do I go knock on? I don't know that. I mean, I'm sitting in my very comfortable home. I'm still able to provide for my kids with my job and everything. What about those women who don't even have that much? So how do we educate them?
We need structures that work. We need the police force to work. We need the anti-corruption to work. We need the judiciary to work. And then we need the parliament to make the laws and to respect the laws. Not to abuse them and not to make laws that are skewed just to favor them. So this is something that is a long-term process. It's this next 5 years, if we're going to achieve anything in terms of laws, I think let's try and make sure that the constitution that we brought in, that took so many years to come into being, is actually implemented. For me, I think what's important is that we get more women in leadership. Women that understand your problem and the problem of the insecurity on their family side, the economic concerns. Right? Because right now, I look at the poverty in this country, it's alarming. I mean, if you can be stoned by going in their area, that's fine. What if they come and stone you in your area? So at the end of the day, we need to harmonize. We need to harmonize the gap between the rich and the poor. There is a big widening gap. I think there's a complete disconnect. We focus so much on infrastructure, and we've neglected so many areas. There are women that have children, right? I was talking to some women in Westlands. There are women that have children that don't have jobs because they don't know where to leave their children. It's a concern. Let's address it. There are women that are pregnant, and Pumwani is so far from Westlands trying to get through this traffic, and they don't have ambulance services. All right. Chase Bank has something called the midwives. They're trying to promote midwives. UK is doing it. Let's promote midwives so that women can give birth safely within their homes. These are solutions. There are solutions to every problem. Westlands, that area, Kitisuru, doesn't have a high school. So we've got free primary education. They come out of all those free primary schools, and then they don't have high schools. But I tell you what, most of the women that I talk to, they ask me, so what are you going to do? And I make them understand that the position is legislative. So making sure that we got the right laws, making sure you understand the laws. But as a businesswoman, as an entrepreneur, I know that there are ways that we ourselves can come up with solutions if we unite and we trust each other and we forget about this tribal divide.
Okay, I'm going to be a bit nosy here. Besides just being the politician that you are, you're a mom as well. How does that affect your kids or what you do?
I'll tell you one thing. My daughter called me the minute it went viral on Facebook that I was standing and said, Mommy, what if they kill you?
So it's a concern with your kids?
It was a concern because they know, I mean, she knows that Were, who was a friend of the family, died. So I said to her, I said, Mommy's not going to die. And then, I actually thought to myself.
But actually, how do you keep that promise?
Yeah. The thing is, no, I mean, you tell your child that, look, I can die even now where I am in my house. At the end of the day, you just have to trust God that He will protect me. And the day that I'm supposed to die, I will die, baby. And always we've got to be ready. Okay, so that's my answer. And I said, Mommy's doing this and she's going to keep herself safe. So it's my promise to her to keep myself safe, which means that everywhere I go, I have to organize for security.
Do they come with you to support you on your rallies and stuff?
My daughter's coming in next week to launch a peace song.
Yes, that's right.
She's 16 years old. She's launching a peace song and I'm proud of her for that.
I watched her video on YouTube, but I saw you
I know, thanks to Kiss TV.
Because she had a few haters and you're like, baby, keep your head up.
This is life. This is life. But let me tell you what, when I speak to the women in the constituencies, and I'm not talking about speaking to women like you, I need you to support me so that I can be able to implement something for the women on the ground. We've got to care.
But will you be accessible? That's the thing. Everybody comes and says, I can do this, I can do that. But are you accessible?
Do you know one of the things I've said to all the constituencies is that I will have an office in every constituency, 17 constituencies. Because how else can I communicate with the 17 constituencies?
Second thing, how will you run that? Like, where will that money come from?
Let me tell you something. You know what? There are people in every constituency that care about development in their constituency.
True.
The solutions of our country. Yesterday, I met a group of young youth that are funded by a donor, and their job, it's citizens against insecurity. So I met them, and I was, Citizens Against Violence. And I met this young group, and when I sat with them, I realized that in the slums, they've actually got themselves organized, and they're doing something. People are not sitting back, they're trying to find solutions. But the solutions are not easy because the government is not involved. It's disconnected from the people.
Okay, so in a nutshell right now.
So you want to provide that connection?
Yes.
Okay.
In a nutshell, tell us. What is Esther? Who is Esther? And what are you going to do? Just very quickly.
I'm a woman who ventured into business, found myself caught up in things that I didn't understand. I mean, Dr. Light is 11 years old, and I have been in court for 7 years, and I still haven't got a way forward. But that was not my first business. The first one was a company that employed deaf people. I was doing tailoring. And at the same time, again, that business collapsed. Why? Because we were importing things outside of Kenya, very cheap, and of course, we couldn't compete. So 300 people lost their jobs, and deaf people for that. So right now, we need laws that protect local traders. Do you know, somebody said to me that Brazil is exporting chicken to Sudan. We're neighbors. Why can't we create those industries and send those chickens there and give our people
I'll say
the
that's
business?
Foul play.
Actually, now that you brought up a Dr. Light,
yes.
The city, the other day I was driving around with my brother and he's like, do you notice how dark it is? And there's the lights aren't on. Why aren't our Dr. lights on?
Because basically we've been stopped from working. They've taken 90%. We have a court order that stops them from taking, but even today, even yesterday, they are still taking our sites. So what I decided to do, let's wait for the judicial process. It's going to cost them a lot of money, but I can't fight them every day. It's ridiculous. You know, I can't fight them every day. I'm going into Parliament, and if I do get into Parliament, my idea is to make sure that what affected me is resolved because it affects a lot of other people.
That's true.
Right?
You're not the only business person.
I mean, look at the vendors in the markets, right? They have nothing. When it rains, basically they can't trade. And at the same time, you also have a situation where they don't even have toilets. These are basic little things that I have to go into the markets and sort out.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So thank you so much, Esther. We heard from herself, the horse's mouth, the gorgeous horse's mouth. But it's seriously a pleasure to know what you stand for, what you hear, and how you want to take this forward. And we're proud of you. Thank you for coming to the Chama.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited that anti-corruption is your big thing that you want
It
to
is a big
work
thing because it's affected me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And welcome back. Well, that was Esther. Isn't the vibe just even better.
Yeah,
Yeah?
yes. Yeah.
Good energy. We love her. Any last words?
Yes, I would just like to say, I mean, what Esther said was fantastic. We have our new constitution that is in place, that is here to protect us, okay? We have the legal system, we have the judiciary, we have the police, but there's something missing in the process. There's a lack of intention and a lack of commitment, and of course, there's the massive problem with corruption. So, good on you, Esther. You know, fight the good fight. We're behind you.
Indeed.
I got that she's passionate, and you know, she's tried different things, you know, being successful in business and all of this, and not all of it has worked really well. She was very real about that. And that there's a huge personal cost, like her kids are concerned for her security, she's been stoned and all of that. It's a huge cost, but still she's passionate and committed to doing it. And I love that she said from the get-go, corruption is the thing I want to fight.
That is true.
Yeah, I want to put in systems so when something happens in the law and the judge says something, it actually follows through into your personal life. So that I love.
And her honesty.
Yeah,
I
thought
I think we
that
all
she's
suffered
real.
in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah, you meet politicians and they're so...
They put up a face with a cover.
Okay, cut. I got from her is, what I get from her is that she's fallen over, but she has gotten up and started walking again. So that means she's not defeated.
Right.
Yeah, it's very easy to feel dejected and say, man, I keep getting pushed over. She has been pushed over many times, as she said, but she gets up, brushes it off, and moves on with life. So that is a great attitude to have. I admire that in any person, not just a woman, in anybody who can get up. So she's there to make a difference. I do hope that she is, you know, she has proved in the past that she's worth her weight in gold. So gold. but you know what I mean.
She has your vote. Clearly.
Yeah,
she has your vote.
Yeah,
but before I give my 2 cents on it, we'd have to thank Sean for bringing her onto the
you're
show.
welcome. You're
Thank
welcome.
you very much for that connection. God bless you.
She's a great friend as well.
Thank you. Because I mean, this interview is exclusively on KISS TV, so this is a blessing. Thank
and
you,
it's
Sean.
the first one.
It's
the
your
first
first
one
interview.
since she got her nomination.
Indeed.
And she did say women are not getting a lot of FaceTime on TV.
That is true.
Like this is her first show as well. So okay, so well
so the
done
Chama
us
is a place
and,
to be.
Yeah.
And thank
We're
you,
here.
Sean.
We're
And I love
here.
the fact that she's going back into public office, and I say thank you for that, because we need more and more women vying for such seats, because there's only one way we'll get our issues heard and addressed is if we have more women in public office. Do have a good night and see you next week.